Hey everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to NJCU's EdTech Doctoral Winter Webinar Series. My name is Melissa Wells, and I'm a doctoral student in the Cohort 10 group of NJCU's EdTech Leadership Program. And I'm also the graduate assistant for the department this year as well, so you will see my face in the beginning of these webinars as your host. So this evening, we are thrilled to have you all here today and excited to share some valuable information with you from our doctoral students and also our fellow graduated doctorates that came from our NJCU EdTech Leadership Program. So this series is designed to provide you with the latest insights, strategies, and best practices in technology. Whether you're new to the field or you've been working in it for some time, we believe that you're going to take something of value from these webinar series. So throughout the series, we're going to be covering a wide range of topics, and we're going to be featuring experts from the technology educational fields who are going to share their knowledge and experience with you. And we're also going to be providing you with the opportunity to ask questions and interact with our speakers towards the end of their sessions. So if you have any questions, you'll be able to ask them at the end in the Q&A sessions. So tonight, this evening, we are going to be presenting Coding in Early Childhood, presented by Tiffany Grant Simmons. She's in my cohort, and I gotta say, she's amazing. She has a kind heart, and we all know that she loves her students, and it rubs off on us too. So now, before I introduce you to Tiffany, again, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. Tiffany will have time for questions at the end. But before that, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Samantha Kozer real quick to speak about the programs in our EdTech department.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm excited to see everybody here for the seminar this evening. And I'm just going to speak briefly about some of the programs that we have. It's lovely to see that a lot of you are, in fact, students in our programs, or our alumni, or our prospective students in the programs, or just coming by to check us out and see what our professional learning opportunities are all about. The New Jersey City University Department of Educational Technology offers degrees, certificates, and certifications in educational technology. And we also have a little bit about our department with Dr. Laura Ziegler, who's our chairperson. Dr. Christopher Schamberg is our coordinator of the EDD and Educational Technology Leadership. If anybody is interested specifically in the doctorate in Educational Technology Leadership. Dr. Christopher Carnahan is an associate professor, when Dr. Tracy Amerman rounds us out as the professor of educational technology. I'm Dr. Samantha Kozer. As Melissa mentioned, I am the STEM Certificate Grant Project Director, and I'm also an adjunct faculty member in the Department of Educational Technology. Melissa is our doctoral student and also our graduate assistant. So a little bit about our programs. We have an MA in Educational Technology Leadership. We also have that MA in Educational Technology Leadership with a school library, a media specialist certification with that MA in EdTech Leadership. We also have the STEM certificate with MA in Educational Technology. We have a doctorate in Educational Technology Leadership, and we have certificates that are graduate level certificates in Assistive Technology, School Library, Media Specialist, and a STEM certificate. So about our Master of Arts degree, whether you take it with the School Library and Media Specialist certification and the STEM certificate, the program is a 36 credit program. That's 12 classes that are completely online and asynchronous, designed for the working professional. They are project-based with no tests. And the coursework is designed to allow you to implement what you're doing in our classes immediately into your teaching and learning settings. Our very popular EDD and Educational Technology Leadership Program is 2 years with coursework and 3 semesters and 1 year of dissertation. So it's a 3-year total program with 2 years of coursework and 1 year dissertation. It is completely asynchronous online, except for 1 week in mid-July, as Dr. Schamberg calls it. It's hard fun. And it is a cohort-based program because you start with people that become your family and a community of practice, and you end with those same folks. Just recently, we have a STEM certificate program that has been made generously available to us through a grant with the Martinson Family Foundation. It is 4 classes and 12 credits, and all of these are actually absorbed into the Master of Arts in Educational Technology degree. So all of these classes wouldn't need to be taken extra if you want a master's in ed tech. You actually get the master's in ed tech with that STEM cert already built in, but you can also take the STEM cert a la carte, which is a great precursor to a technology endorsement. It encompasses STEM foundations, curriculum across the internet, STEM across the curriculum, and authoring tools. Again, it's completely online, project-based with no tests or quizzes. And emerging technologies you can expect to see and engage with. You can see here we have all kinds of robotics and drones, augmented reality, and AI interface. If you have any questions about our program, please feel free to reach out to our department chairperson, Dr. Laura Ziegler at lziegler@njcu.edu, or about the Master of Arts in Educational Technology with the STEM certificate or the STEM certificate program to myself, Dr. Kozar at skozar@njcu.edu. And I'll turn it back over to Melissa.
Thank you, Dr. Kozar. Okay, so a little about Tiffany. So Tiffany is a teacher with the Jersey City Public Schools, and she's been teaching for almost 2 decades. I believe it's 26 years, right, Tiffany? Mostly in early childhood. She was also selected as one of JCPS's Teachers of the Year for the 2022-2023 school year. She has multiple certifications that include pre-K to 3rd grade, kindergarten through 6th, and supervision. And currently, she's a doctoral student at the NJCU Ed Tech Leadership. We are so proud to have her here. She's kind, warm-hearted, and helps us out tremendously in all of our projects, and we're so glad to have her on board. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Tiffany Grant Simmons.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Dr. Sam. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I appreciate you all being here. Just give me a moment to share my screen, and we will begin. Melissa, can you see everything well?
Yes, you are good.
Thank you. So again, good evening. Thank you everyone for attending. My presentation this evening is what coding looks like in early childhood. This webinar will talk about what coding looks like in an early childhood classroom setting and ways we can improve coding activities and in a classroom. So a little bit about myself. I have a bachelor's in psychology and early childhood. I did a double major in my undergraduate studies. I have an MA in early childhood. I also completed 12 credits for the supervision certificate. I am currently a doctoral student in EdTech leadership. Oddly enough, I started the STEM certificate before I enrolled into the EdTech leadership program for the doctoral program. I am currently pursuing my principal certification. I've been teaching for nearly 2 decades, which actually 18 years, and I am a teacher with the Jersey City Public Schools. I am a city girl at heart, and I can't imagine teaching anywhere else. So the objectives of this webinar are to talk about children and technology, coding skills and why they are necessary, what pre-coding skills look like in an early childhood classroom setting, how to develop those coding skills without technology or with limited technology. I will talk about some coding apps and some products, and I will have some resources available. And then there will be a short time to answer some questions at the end. So to begin, young children and technology. We're in the year 2023. Everywhere we go, we see a child with a parent's smartphone. We see them with an iPad. We see them with a tablet. You know, they're there. They're using these items, and most of them pretty proficiently. However, we have to think about why we're allowing the children to use them at such a young age. So research says that smartphones are being used by children at an average of 2.27 years old before they reach the age of 3. They're spending at least 30 minutes daily on a device, and they're learning how to use it reasonably well before they're entering school. Now, I have to be honest, I am slightly guilty of this. I have a goddaughter who's 7, and sometimes when she's visiting, and I'm in the middle of something, I'll give her my iPad to use because, I'm trying to keep her distracted while I finish my task. And while I know I'm giving her something educational, sometimes we're just giving them something to keep them occupied. No judgment, but when we use technology, we want it to be meaningful and purposeful. So we have to think about ways to make sure that when we're offering up technology to young people, that it's meaningful and purposeful. So we're going to talk a little bit about coding. Coding is how humans interact and communicate with computers. Writing code allows users to create a set of instructions for a device, whether it's a laptop, a smartphone, an iPad, and they tell computers what type of actions to perform. Coding also enables one to create apps or websites and process data quickly. Now, I'm going to date myself a little bit. So there's 2 items up on the screen. On the left of your screen is a Commodore VIC-20, and on the right of your screen is a Commodore 64. So in the late 80s, I spent the summer at a family member's house, and they had a Commodore 64. And it's basically you plugged it into the television, and you typed in all these codes, and you had all these wonderful things happen. So I was super excited when I learned how to have my name bounce across the screen, and I had hearts floating over in different colors and all these kinds of things. So that was my very early introduction to coding. Now, unfortunately, I didn't keep up with it because, again, this was during my summer at a relative's house. So when I went back home, I didn't have access to this. And I really didn't give it much thought again until much, much later in life. But coding has been a part of my life from an early age. So why are coding skills important for young learners? So I was trying to think of all the ways to put it out there, and I found this perfect graphic. So coding teaches kids many things. It teaches them risk-taking. It teaches them about creativity. It helps them to develop their critical thinking skills. It helps them with storytelling and retelling. It helps with problem solving and math processes. It helps them to develop perseverance. It helps them with collaborative efforts, and it helps to develop self-confidence. And all of these things we do specifically in an early childhood setting. So I was glad to find this graphic to talk about what coding teaches and how it encompasses other aspects in an early childhood classroom. So some of the coding skills that one would learn are about, there are more, I just listed these few. Algorithms, sequencing, looping, and decomposition. So algorithms are about doing step-by-step process to complete a task. So you write a task and you break down each step for that particular task. Sequencing is a task done in a particular order. So of course you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't want your task to be 1, 5, 7, 3, 8. That's not going to work. Everything has to be in a particular order in order for you to complete that task successfully. Looping means that you're completing a task over and over again. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about looping and an activity that I have done in my class, but you're basically just repeating a particular step over and over again. And decomposition means just to break things down into smaller pieces. So for example, some of the things that we do in an early childhood classroom when we're talking about shapes, we break down shapes. So we know that a hexagon could be 2 trapezoids, or a rectangle would be 2 squares. A triangle could be a smaller triangle and a trapezoid. A square could be 4 triangles put together. So we focus on decomposition quite a bit in an early childhood classroom setting. So these are some of the things that we do without people realizing what we do to get them ready for coding for the later years. Now, when we're talking about coding, we want to be sure that when we're teaching young learners, we're using coding blocks rather than coding text. Coding text is for students who can read and type well, have strong comprehension skills, and our young learners have very limited reading skills. They need a lot of visual cues. So we use coding blocks as opposed to coding text because it's easier for them to understand. It's very user-friendly because if you're using a tablet or another smart device, it's all drag and drop. And it's just much easier for them to grasp. I mean, you may have some students who can read very well, but again, when you're introducing coding to young learners, you really want to start with coding blocks as opposed to using coding text. So some of the pre-coding skills that you would see in an early childhood classroom is talking about story retelling and sequencing. So sequencing, what I mentioned before, we have a daily routine, and that's something that's very much emphasized because we want the children to be familiar and know what to expect on a daily basis. So your daily routine could start with breakfast, or it could start with morning message, or it could start with work time or outdoor play. We introduce a daily routine or daily schedule because we want the children to know that each part of the day is in sequence. So, I mean, of course, random things happen throughout the day, but for the most part, your day starts at the very beginning and you go through each step and then it comes to the end. And that's something that we do regularly in the early childhood classroom. And that's one of the skills that they need to get ready for pre-coding. Another thing that we do with pre-coding, introducing pre-coding skills, is storytelling and retelling. So when we tell a story to the children, we're obviously introducing vocabulary and increasing their language skills. However, there's a purpose for that as well. We want them to understand that stories are told in a particular order. We want them to understand that there's a beginning, there's a middle part, and there's an end, or there's the first part, the next part, the following part, and then the end. This is important also for teaching them about teaching them ordinal numbers. So story retelling and a daily routine is just one of the many things that we do to prepare our children for pre-coding skills. Another thing that we do in an early childhood classroom is we talk about patterns, and we work on patterns very heavily. So in the very beginning of the school year, we might have a pattern that's pretty much complete, and we just give them like one or two at the end to try to complete that pattern, because we don't want to overwhelm them. We don't want them to say, okay, we want you to create a pattern. Some children can outright do it, and some need a little assistance. So we kind of give them that little start, and we just ask them to complete a pattern. As the year goes by, we give them similar patterns that are very simple, but we take a little bit more from that and we ask them to complete more of it. So instead of having them to complete it with just one or two pieces, now we're asking them to really think about how long can you extend this pattern. We're also asking them to see if they can create their own pattern. It doesn't necessarily have to be with colors. It could be with shapes. It could be with letters. It could be with anything you have available. Because these pre-coding skills that we're talking about is not necessarily just for the classroom. These are things that parents can do at home as well to prepare their children for kindergarten and for other skills that they're going to need. And then we start to talk about more complex patterns. So we may show them an ABBA pattern, or we can give them different fruits or different shapes, different animals, anything, to see if they can create a more complex pattern. And that's just another step that they need for pre-coding skills in the classroom. Now, another thing that I do in my classroom regarding patterns is that we briefly talk about our calendar, and each number on our calendar is a different a different pattern. So for this month, our pattern is an AABB pattern. So as each month goes by, we focus on more complex patterns until they're able to start creating their own complex patterns. Another thing that we do in an early childhood classroom is something called design, draw, and build. And again, this is not limited to an early childhood classroom. These are things that parents can do at home with their young ones, with their grandchildren, grandparents can do with their grandchildren. So this particular picture is a student of mine in my classroom, and we read 2 books about the tooth fairy because they're at the age that they're losing their teeth. And they were talking about the tooth fairy and why does she collect teeth and what does she do with them? And they wanted to talk to her and ask her questions. And I said, well, you would have to build something to catch her, to talk to her, but you got to remember you can't keep her. So what they decided to do was they wanted to design a trap to catch the tooth fairy. Said you can use a piece of paper that says my blueprint. You can use a regular piece of paper and have them think about what kind of contraption they would like to make. Help them design it. Ask them questions. You know, what parts are you, what materials are you going to use? How is this particular part going to work? Is it going to hurt her? Will she be able to be set free easily? You know, ask all these types of questions because they're developing these problem solving skills so that they, again, this is getting them prepared for pre-coding. And this youngster here, he's quite advanced and he made something. This is just the beginning in this picture. It was much more grand. That was just the first picture that I took. And he detailed how he was going to catch her and, you know, do all these things. And so these are just some things to help these children get ready for pre-coding in the upper grades or even in early childhood. Sorry. So one of the things that we've been doing in my class is creating mazes because they've been interested in mazes and creating grids and treasure maps. So I took magnet tiles and some traffic signs from our block area, and I just made some arrows. You do not need any fancy tools when you're starting the basics of coding. As I said, I just took what we had in the classroom available because our technology is very, very limited. So I just printed some arrows and wrote left, right, up, down, and there's a little bear on a sticky. And I said, this is the starting point and this is the end point. Let's see how we can code a path for our bear to get from the very beginning and the very end. And they were really, really, really engrossed in this. They enjoyed it. They talked out their thought process on which way they wanted the bear to go. They talked about, well, I can't let the bear go this way because the stop sign is there or the do not enter sign is there. I have to create my path again. I have to go back and start from the beginning. And they were using that vocabulary and they were talking out their thought process. And again, they really enjoyed this. There were some that they had kind of a looping problem. And again, I'll talk about that again. But again, they really enjoyed this thought process, enjoyed this activity, and they've done it repeatedly on their own without me even initiating it. They've done this on their own. This is another activity that was done during work time. So this is on 2 different days. The kids started creating mazes with the Legos, and on the left picture, you can see they had a little dinosaur, and they were trying to figure out how they can get the dinosaur from the house to the jail. I don't know what they were thinking, but that's what they were saying. And I said, okay, well, how are you going to do that? And so they started talking about, well, you want to have some grass here so they could play with, and before they go to the jail. And then we're going to have a little area over here where they can hang out. And then they talked about, well, we're going to put this wall here because we don't want them to go this way. And they just really thought out the path that they wanted the dinosaur to go. And the one on the right is a little bit more complex. I can't remember exactly the entirety of it, but I do know it was about being in a jungle and animals that I do remember, or going to the zoo. That was it. And again, they were using that language, developing those problem-solving skills. They were working together, figuring out a path for the dinosaur and for the other animals in the other picture. Now, this is another one that they really, really enjoyed. So we decided to do this as a large group activity. So we have this 5 by 20 piece square rug in my classroom. And I just took some tape and I taped some in the squares, and I gave them the arrows again. I placed a start sign and a finish sign, and I said, okay, let's pick one of your friends and let's have them plot a path from the start sign to the end. And, they sat together and they talked about it. And he said, okay, we want him to go this way, this way, this way. And so they put the arrows down, and then they've realized the last picture on the right, the little boy, he looks like he's jumping. He's going in a loop because they didn't realize they had him going left and right. When he was going left, he had to go back right. And when he was going right, he had to go back left. And so he was just kind of jumping up and down, being silly. He's like, oh my God, they put me in a loop. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, well, you have to talk to your friends and figure it out. How can they fix it so you can get to the finish line? So they got back together. They started talking about it, and they realized that they had to change one of the lefts and one of the rights. And they just, they figured it out and they fixed it. So it didn't take very long for them to get him out of that loop. Now, again, these activities, you don't need a lot of materials. There's another one that we've done. Excuse me. I just took a large piece of poster board and that same type of tape. I just taped some squares on it to make a grid. And I just gave them the arrows, and they used whatever other items they wanted to create obstacles, and they just planned around that. And they really, really enjoy it. Excuse me. So now I'm going to talk about some coding apps that are available for early childhood students. If you have a moment, if you want to, there are some QR codes at the bottom of the screen. You can scan those codes and you will be taken directly to the Google Play Store for these particular apps. So the first app is Scratch Junior. The second app is Tinker Junior. And the third app is Code Spark Academy. These apps are also available in the Apple Store. However, I just had it available on my Google, and I just put it up here. So you can scan those QR codes and it will take you right to those pages, and you'll see a little trailer about how those apps work. I have used Scratch Junior and Tinker Junior in the past. I have not used Code Spark Academy yet, but I have a friend in another district who says that her students do use Code Spark Academy, and she does recommend it very highly. Also, I want to say that if you're concerned about teaching children coding, you don't need to know a lot about coding. You don't need to know a lot at all. Everything that we're doing, with the daily sequences and putting things in order and doing patterns, those skills we already have to learn how to code. I'm gonna go to the next one. So I will go back if anyone wants to grab those codes. So these are some coding products that I recently received in my classroom. I purchased them myself with my own money. And this company is called the MakeBlock Company. I actually reached out to a rep from this particular company, MakeBlock, because I wanted to, I have an idea for something that I want to do in the future for early childhood students. So I reached out to a rep there, and she demoed some items for me. And I decided, I'm going to just purchase a couple items to use in my classroom. So the one on the left is called the M-Tiny. It's really, really easy. We haven't used them yet, again, because I just arrived in my class and I just unboxed them, and I haven't had an opportunity to try them out just yet with my students. the right one more so than the left, because the right one needs to be set up with Wi-Fi, and I need someone to come in to help me set that up. But the left one, no technology, whatever. It has a little pen. You just scan, write the code, easy, 1, 2, 3. These QR codes take you right to those particular pages, those items, so you can get a full description of those items. They're very easy to use based on the demo that I received. Excellent for early childhood classrooms for ages 3 to 8. And there are additional accessories you can purchase with them, especially for the Cody Rocky if you want. And okay, so now we have some resources that we have available. So these resources are for Scratch Junior. On the left QR code is a tutorial for Scratch Junior. So you can scan a QR code and go directly to the tutorial. It's on YouTube if you don't want to scan it. And it will tell you step by step how to set up Scratch Junior for your classroom. If you're uncomfortable with coding, it tells you exactly what to do, so you don't have to be uncomfortable, and you can do it right alongside with your kids. And then after you do it a little bit, they won't need you. They'll just do it themselves. Scratch Junior, the second QR code is Scratch Junior coding vocabulary. So if you're looking to introduce coding to your students with an app, their Scratch Junior has some coding vocabulary that you can use with their app. And then the last QR code are some coding blocks from Scratch Junior. Those coding blocks you do not need to use the app. You can use them without the app. They come in 2 sizes. They come in full page size. So if you want to do a large group activity with those coding blocks, you can. And then they have smaller ones that you can use for small group activities, or if you want to leave them in your tech area for the kids to use them independently. Okay. And that tutorial for Scratch Junior, when you go onto YouTube, that particular account has additional tutorials. So if you want to learn more, just follow that particular page and you can see the additional tutorials they have for Scratch Junior. And we are at the end. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A portion. And if you have any questions that you think of afterwards, you can email me. My email is tgrantssimmons@jcboe.org.
Hey. Right. So as Tiffany said, there's a little icon at the bottom that says Q&A, and you can punch in your questions to her. If you feel more comfortable talking instead of writing, just press the raise hand button and Tiffany and I can actually unmute you. So please feel free to do that. Tiffany, I have to say thank you so much for opening our eyes about coding, sequencing, and padding, because as a 1st through 8th grade chorus music teacher, 1st graders come into my classroom and they get so excited and they understand from like the first day on how to sing repetitively and to give me dance movements. And that's what we do in 1st grade. We have to constantly give them sequencing and pattern. But I don't know what you guys did in pre-K and kindergarten. So this is really opening up my mind and give me insight on how you guys give the foundation for these kids, and thinking about when they grow up, when they're drummers or they're singers, like you guys set that foundation for them. So you gave me some good insights with the activities as well, because some students don't like to sing in my class. So I have to find something else to bring them out. And your activities here are really going to help me have that, musical twist. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I just want to say that a lot of times people don't realize that we do set the foundation. Yes, we do a lot of play, but the children learn through play, and that's very important. So I appreciate that you appreciate the work that we do in an early childhood setting. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, so anyone in the audience, anybody have any questions? Again, you could press the raise hand. We will unmute you. Again, it's the Q&A icon on the bottom. You can ask questions. Tiffany, is there anything else you wanted to cover before a wrap up?
Just don't be afraid to try coding. It really is not as hard as it seems. People get a little nervous about it and thinking that it's truly complicated. I mean, if you're going to work for Google, yes, you're going to have strings and strings of codes that you're going to write. So yes, but if you're teaching it to the youngsters, it's simple. It's drag and drop. It's all there. It's there. Just drag and drop.
Okay, I think we've got, let's see. Okay, we've got some questions.
I see some things in the chat. Let's see. We did a pre-code project and teachers surveyed were somewhat timid. Thank you. Oh, there's no need to be timid about coding. It's easy. It's easy. I hope they are less timid in the future. I hope they try to do more about it. Oh, she said her mic isn't working.
I will unmute you right now. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. Well, this was really very nice. And congratulations, Miss Tiffany. This was well done. And it was very good to hear your thoughts and your ideas regarding coding. When I mentioned about the pre-code project that we did, this was prior to COVID. And when we surveyed the teachers at first, I think many of them came in thinking that they had to be coding experts. And, you know, some of the things that you showed in what you're doing in your classroom, you know, were some of the things that they eventually did. And then the post survey, you know, their comfort level was really very high. So I'm really hoping that when they see what you did, unplugged, and at the same time supporting those pre-coding skills, that, you know, their apprehension, their fears will be eliminated. And when we start up the project again, that they'll be happy to jump on. And it's good to know we have another expert in the among us. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Shari has a question.
Will we get a certificate for joining today? I don't know. Melissa?
I believe so, because if you did come to a series, I will have to check up on that. But Shari, I think I saw you also in the other presentation as well. I saw you come in. So yes, you have two. Okay. You know what? Can you do me a favor? Can you type in your email in the chat? Because we can give you something that you actually were here today. Okay.
It's there.
Sun.
I see one of my colleagues is in the audience. Miss Kitson, did you want to ask any questions?
I can unmute her. Okay. Miss Kitson, you have yes, go ahead.
Did I have a question? I didn't really have a question, but it was very informative because I have to say, coding, I mean, the term, it seems so out of reach for me. So I was really interested in see how we could apply coding in pre-K. And I recognize I'm probably already doing it, but didn't realize that it's coding. So I am a much better informed, and I'm going to try to apply some of the things I learned. I didn't get a chance to QR some of those codes ahead, but I'll get back to you. But I really enjoyed it. It was very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can share those codes with you
Yeah.
when I see you, when
Yeah,
I
I'll
see you
catch up.
next.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
And if I may just add one last comment, the coding, it aligns with, and we use high scope, so I'll refer only my reference to curriculum early childhood approved is it's high scope. It aligns with the high scope curriculum and absolutely aligns with the preschool teaching and learning standards.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay.
I see Janet in the audience. Janet, you want to ask any questions?
Janet, I am going to unmute you. Okay. Go ahead, Janet, if you want to talk. Vanessa actually has a question. Tiffany, well done. How do you keep up with current trends and advances in this field?
Oh boy.
Good question.
Keep going to school. No, I do attend other conferences and webinars to brush up on my skills, because things change so often, especially in technology. What was relevant yesterday will not be relevant tomorrow. So, I try to attend and read as much as I possibly can to keep up with things.
It's funny, I have to piggyback off of what you just said. I went to the orthodontist today to get Invisalign, and I was asking the new orthodontist there, I said, wow, you have so many cool tools in this place. Like everything's so advanced, what are you doing? And he says, well, first of all, I got off of social media. I don't want to be on social media. It fogs up my brain. All I like to do is read and download audiobooks and just read about the newest trends that come out. So it's funny that you asked that, Vanessa, because that's what I was told today. So Tiffany, you're right about what you stated in your answer. Okay, anybody else have any questions?
I'm looking to see if there's anyone else I recognize. I did see Sutana.
Yes, she was on. I think she just logged off. Oh no, she's here. Sutana, I can unmute you if you wanted to say anything. So you're off mute. I put my phone when you were presenting, so I downloaded all of the apps already that you gave us, so I can't wait.
I really do like Scratch Junior. There's another. This Code, I just realized I was muted, sorry. There's Code Monkey and Code Monkey Junior. Code Monkey Junior obviously is easier for the little ones, and it's just so easy. I mean, you don't even need a tablet. If a parent is just like keeping their child occupied, they could just download it on their phone and they can use it right there. And it just, the little monkey has to find the banana. And they just click the arrows for the way they want the little monkey to go to get the banana. And then it gets more complicated as the stages progress, but it's not rocket science. But they like it.
I was reading a dissertation topic about technology a couple days ago, and they just said in 2022, 53% of ages 7 have a cell phone. Can you believe that?
It's actually quite scary. It's scary, but I believe it.
And I didn't get a cell phone, so I believe I was 18 because my dad wanted me to have a cell phone just in case anything happened when I was driving. And I used to always use it at NJCU when I was doing plays and I needed a ride home at 10 o'clock. So that cell phone was just for safety reasons. And now we have students age 7 just have 53% of them have a phone. So we have changed, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There was a time where we thought that we don't need phones. I mean, we lived with them. We lived without phones. And then now we can't go anywhere without them. By the way, thank you, Satana.
Okay, anybody else with any questions or comments before we wrap up? We'd like to thank Tiffany Grant Simmons again for this wonderful presentation, which, you know, it really opened my eyes about what teachers do in pre-K and kindergarten, these little ones before they head to the bigger grades. Also, the NJCU Ed Tech Department appreciates all of you for being here. Please be sure to check out what else is going on in the Ed Tech Department, for we always have so many events taking place. You can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, if you just type in Educational Technology Department at NJCU. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be signing off. So again, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you all next time.